Hi, beauties. Today is all about the new Best Skin Ever multi-use concealer. Recently, Sephora reformulated one of my favorite affordable concealers. So, a couple of key details about this concealer is it was re-released in 30 shades, retailing for $16 with a 12-month shelf life. This concealer has a total of three different undertones that would be neutral, pink, and yellow. However, upon swatching and playing with this concealer, I noticed that the conversion chart that Sephora provides doesn't quite line up. If you are interested in the details on this concealer, you're going to want to keep. So on today, I'm going to be demoing the concealer. I'm going to be providing you with swatches of the 7 shades that I have here in my collection in both studio light and natural lighting outside. And I'm also going to go ahead and give you swatching comparisons to some really popular concealer shades that I have here in my collection. For example, the Dior Full Coverage Creamy Concealer that I have here in shade 4W, because I want to ensure that you are picking the right shades. One of the things that I encountered with this concealer or shopping online was some of the shades look a little bit different than they look online, and some of them say that they are a yellow undertone when they actually look a little bit more cool. So in my swatches, we're going to look at all of the details, and that way you can purchase the correct shade. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the arm swatches on this concealer. Sephora recently reformulated their Best Skin Ever concealer, and today I have 7 of those shades to swatch out and demo for you. I have the shades 15 through 21. We're going to go ahead and get into the arm swatches and then right into the face demo. Okay, I'm going to be wearing 2 shades on today. I'm going to wear the shades 15 Neutral and 18Y. I'm going to also reference the shade 16Y. That one would be more of my glam shade. It will be a little bit darker than 15, and you'll see what I'm talking about because I'm using the shade 15 only in the inner portion of the eye just for brightness. And then for the rest of the eye, under eye, I'm going to use the shade 18. The shade 18Y is a really good everyday, throw it on kind of a color for work and everything else. You don't want to be super, super bright. If you're my complexion, I really like 18Y for an everyday. And again, I like 16Y for more of a glam look. 15 Neutral is more of that inner corner brightening shade. I'm going to let those set on the skin for about a minute or two, and then I'm going to blend out this side with my BK Beauty 506 concealer brush, and then the other side with my Beauty Blender. And this is what the under eyes look like, freshly blended. This side with the brush, this side with the beauty blender. Again, I see a more full coverage application with a brush, which is what I prefer. We also have the Sephora Blur It Loose Setting Powder. I have all 3 shades here. Today, I'm going to demo 2 shades for you so you can figure out which shade you prefer. I'm going to go ahead and use the Brightening Peach shade on this eye, and then I'm going to use the Brightening Banana shade on this eye. All right, before I dust away, I want you to see what it looks like. This is the banana, this is the peach. I actually do like them both. The banana obviously looks a little bit more brightening. So, based on the descriptions on the Sephora site, the pink is supposed to be for fair to light with pink undertones. The banana is for light to medium with golden undertones. And the brightening peach is for medium to dark skin with gold undertones. So the Sephora collection recently released this powder, I would say less than a week ago as I'm filming this particular video. This is a loose powder mattifying formula with a very light coverage and a brightening effect. Therefore, I believe that this is really good for areas that you've highlighted under the eye, maybe the forehead area, and maybe even underneath their contour to just add that dimension to the face. This is not an all over the face powder, kind of like the L'Oreal, which I personally believe this is Sephora's direct response to the L'Oreal powder. Now, what I think is the shade range on here is great. I do wish that Sephora included a translucent brightening shade and maybe even a deep translucent shade for the deepest of deep skin tones. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at the packaging. Okay, I thought it would be really helpful to compare some of these new shades to some really popular concealers that I have here in my collection. And these are really popular shades. First off is the NARS Caramel shade. I think that this particular shade compares very well to the shade 16Y in the new Best Skin Ever formulation. What I also noticed is that this color also compares very well to the Dior. This is the Dior Forever Skin Correct in the shade 4W. So if you wear either the shade Caramel from NARS or the shade 4W for Dior Skin Correct, the shade 16Y is going to be your shade. Now, this is one of my absolute top 3 concealers here that I have in my collection. It's wears long, it's waterproof or water resistant. There are shades that have color correcting properties. It's just one of the best if you don't have it already ready. This is the shade Praline, and this is 6.3 neutral. Now, this is the shade 18Y in the new Best Skin Ever concealer formula. Now, it is a little bit deeper, but I do feel like the shades are very similar, that if you wore the shade 6.3 in the Huda Beauty, then you can totally wear the shade 18. I also noticed that a few other concealers, like my Pat McGrath concealer in the shade M20, will also fall into this bucket. This is a very good match for the shade 18 if you wear that shade in Pat McGrath. And then also the Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. This is the shade Butterscotch. If you wear any of these shades, the color 18Y will be a good option for you. All right, I have 5 concealer shades in the old concealer formula in my collection. What I'm going to do is swatch these on my arm and compare them per Sephora's conversion chart to the new replacement chart. Okay, so per Sephora's conversion chart, the shade number 33 was to be replaced by shade 15 neutral. So these are for both neutral shades, but I find that the new formula is just a tad bit deeper and a little more peachy. Another thing that I've noticed is that Sephora really didn't put a lot of the half shades. For example, this is the shade 33Y, and there isn't, per the conversion chart, a replacement for this shade. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it on my arm now, just for comparison purposes. So old, new, old, shade 33 neutral, shade 15 neutral, shade 33.5Y. This was actually one of my favorites here. Now, I don't know or remember if there was a shade 34 to be exact, but I have 34.5 in the old formula. And per Sephora's conversion chart, this was to be replaced by the shade 16Y. And I can actually see that. It's very close, very comparable. So if you use the shade 34.5 in the old formula, 16Y in the new formula, it's just a little more yellow. It's not as yellow as you would think, but it's a great alternative. Now, on the conversion chart, Sephora did not include a replacement on their conversion chart for shade 38P, but I'm just going to swatch it here. I'm going to go ahead and compare it to shade 18Y, new formula. Love this color, by the way. And this is the shade 20P. So essentially, 38P in the old formula does not have a replacement. This is the same tone, but is at least a shade or two lighter. Now, the last old shade that I'm going to compare is 44Y. I know that this was a really popular shade amongst the brown girlies. And this one also, per the conversion chart, does not have a direct replacement. The shade 42 translates to shade 21, and it says that the shade 46 will translate to the shade 22Y, which I do not have. However, I do have the shade 21 neutral and the shade 19 neutral. So I'm just going to go ahead and swatch the old one here. And to be honest, this one is quite close, but the undertone is a little different to 20p. Okay, so that's 44Y, old formula. And this is 19. Oh, this is 19 neutral, new formula, and 21 neutral, new formula. I do not believe this shade has a replacement. The closest alternative, oh man, I would have to encourage you to go with the shade 19 neutral, or maybe even pick up the shade 21Y to see if the undertone is going to give you that golden that you would be looking for here. I thought it would be helpful to look at the old formulas versus the new formulas per the conversion chart. Okay, beauties, I am back and it is 9:06, and I have had this concealer and powder on for about 7 hours now, and let's take a close look. I do see some creasing, but it's very minimal creasing, very minimal wear and tear. This concealer is a little bit more mattifying than the original formula. However, I do think that they improved this concealer as far as the creasing and the wear, because I know some previously complained that it did crease up on them. This one probably won't. This is a good middle of the road, if you ask me. It's not too matte, it's not too creamy. And the only concern that I also have, honestly, is like the medium dark shades. I kind of feel like the medium dark range is a bit iffy. And then the medium shades that I had swatched, it seemed like 15, 16, and 17 actually kind of look very similar. Now, the powder, the blurring powder, I applied the banana on this side and a peach on this side. And I also applied it with a brush on this side and a sponge on this side. I like this concealer applied with a brush because you get a very, you get a more fuller coverage, and it just gives more glam, to be honest. And I did like the brightness that I got from the banana shade. This is a very brightening powder, not for all over the face. This is for up under the eyes only. Do I think that this powder is better than the L'Oreal? I don't know. I think that they are a kind of about the same. And to be honest, I may have to give the edge to the L'Oreal, if I'm being completely honest. But what Sephora did is create accessibility, because there are so many Sephoras everywhere. And then the improvement on the packaging really sends me, because I really don't like the packaging on the L'Oreal. Like, you really have to hit it in order to get some product out, and I don't have time for all of that. So this powder is a definite yes. It pairs well with the Sephora Best Skin Ever concealer, and it just wore well. It wore well. It gave me the blurriness, it gave me the brightness and everything that I would be looking for, and the price is right. Yeah, the price is right at $16. This lines right up there with the L'Oreal, but the Sephora powder wins the packaging department. So that is going to wrap it up on my review of the Sephora Best Skin Ever Concealer and the Blur It Loose Powder. Both get 2 thumbs up from me. And I hope that you like these types of videos. And if you do, you're going to want to check out the playlist above. Bye.